Oke, bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, guys, welcome back to our podcast. And today's podcast would be about business in digital era. So it will we will tell about everything in business, but with additional thing, a digitalization,
Yes.
right?
But rather than we're talking about things like that, rather we're going to discuss a little maybe. Not just we're not just gonna tell you about all this business stuff, but we're going to deliver our opinion about it. So without further ado, let's start this podcast by saying Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
So, guys, before we start our podcast, we need to define what is business in digital era. So, as we know nowadays, business in digital era, business they are using internet, they are using the network, is becoming global. I mean, look nowadays, there are more people that are using e-commerce rather than just
Using
go
shops,
like all shops.
no,
So
original stuff.
and stuff like that can also affect the world market, guys. We need to understand that business is not a really simple thing. So now let's compare about business back then and business nowadays. So, first thing first, Rekno, what do you think about business back then?
Firstly, business back then was very crowded, I would say. Well, many interactions, of course, because
That's the plus side of it.
yeah, and and it's plus all of them are manualized.
Manualized.
You can see that we're still using normal money actually, and then
Yeah.
we write anything like notes of stock
Oh yeah.
of any supplies of our goods,
Yes.
still using maybe a book, right?
Yeah.
And then there are no, what do you call that, couriers, I think. Couriers.
Oh, couriers. Yeah.
Couriers aren't
The
common
one,
at
yeah,
that
the
time.
one who sends our goods.
Yeah. And the difference between now.
The difference between now, if I would say, nowadays, there's the interaction of human is not just as much as back then. So think of it as like you're only pushing button, and then it's done.
You type
purchasing.
something.
Yeah, just
enter.
typing and enter, and then just uh what
Words.
plus you add it to your shopping cart, then just check out.
Then
How easy can it be? But at at the at the other side, we human have to do interaction with others because we're social people.
yes. And yeah. The difference was also with additional of electronic money
Electronic money, e-money, yes,
and electronic wallets.
electronic wallets,
Yeah, like Dana, OPay, Dana,
Curious,
Dana, GoPay, OVO, and
curious,
Curious.
yeah,
And maybe like monies inside the card, right? Like Indomaret card or something like that. Actually, a
yeah,
digitalized
right.
thing, right?
Yes,
Maybe we'll not find not in e-commerces, but
yeah,
some normal grocery stores,
yeah.
like the two rivals, Alfamart and Indomaret.
Oh, yeah.
They are started to open online payment.
Like Alpha Gift, you know? You know
Yeah, Alpha Gift. Yes.
And now, guys, about this business and digital era stuff, let's talk about employability. Now, like when the era is becoming more digitalized,
They have less employees.
they have less employees, so there's no like job field for people to work on.
Yeah.
There's less employee, so it can decrease the amount of job that people can take, and that's not very good for us people. But at the other side, yeah, there are there are a job field for people who can develop the application of the
Yes.
e-commerce.
But it isn't easy.
But
It's
it's
not easy.
but it's not that easy, to develop an application.
It isn't easy that
Yeah,
we see. And
and trust me, guys, it's not easy.
yeah, you can see back then in early 20th century when yeah, it's also the part of the digital era in business
Yeah.
where workers, human workers are a lot working manufacturing things. Manufacturing a car maybe.
Yeah.
Manufacturing some furnitures.
Yeah,
But now look at that. Robots.
robots
are
are taking
lots.
over. They can do a job with more specified and more detail. And so, guys, about this business and digital era. Uh, Other than that we discussed earlier, let's talk about the security of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
When back then, when people only used paper and pen to do transactions,
Transaction.
to like record the transaction,
Yeah.
that way, I agree that that's the way of more secure
Yeah.
way of transaction,
Yes.
because you're doing it in front of the transaction itself. But the thing about transaction nowadays, it's like with your gadget, you're buying stuff with your e-money and your e-wallet. There's no what is it?
Yeah, scams a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of scams.
Even yeah, I would say the previous incident when we are holiday about the Curious QR code X incident.
Oh, you mean at the mosque?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which actually the QR code is not from its DKM,
Well, not from the
But
committee,
from
not the
the-
committee of
from the scammer.
of the mosque.
from the
It's the
scam.
scammer.
Yes,
Because-
and the money will be forwarded to the scammer, not for the
Yeah,
mosque authorities.
and that is not a nice thing to do.
Yeah, and also e-commerces, right? There we have a lot of scams. Even my parents are one of them.
One of the victim.
Yes.
Thank
We
God
can
I'm
s-
not.
We can see that we have the photos. Oh, look at the photos of the product. It's very nice and
Yeah.
it's very cheap. We said, okay, we'll pay. When we checked out, when the packages arrived, no, why? It's not what I meant. So and then when we contact the seller, they block block our number and they stole our money.
What an unfortunate.
Yeah, that's one of
Occasion.
very common scams in e-commerce actually.
In e-commerce. So
Or maybe no, or maybe not only the money. You can see that the photos are oh
oh, you mean
the item is very
yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
But when
I
it
get
come when the package comes the item was very bad condition like low budget.
It's not.
on
It's
our-
not even the product that was in the image.
yeah, it's not in our expectation.
Yes.
It's literally happening commonly.
And that things not only happen to Rekno guys. It happens to people around the world. And imagine a world that scamming is getting more and more increasing. Like it increased more. It increased a lot because of how worldwidely we use e-commerce nowadays.
And actually both had offline or online had plus and minuses.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Maybe if we are collecting records with papers, it will makes a lot of it will take a lot of space in our
Yeah.
house. It wasn't very efficient at all. Maybe.
And about about e-commerce, we don't have to go outside of house. We
Yeah.
don't have to go outside of our house.
Yes.
Just like in pandemic,
Yeah.
that was e-commerce surely blows up on that time.
Yeah. I would say that. I think that's all. I guess.
Yeah.
you can see that a lot of scams and plus and minuses, happy and sad, sometimes angry when in this using e-commerce. But sometimes we have to very careful.
So that is the message of this podcast, guys. Be careful when you're buying stuff,
Especially e-commerce.
especially e-commerce. And I think that's all from us. Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for watching our podcast. I hope you guys keep healthy and stay alert for every scams in e-commerce. Thank you.
Okay.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
See you next time, guys.
Yeah. See you.